straight from Japan. This tea is.
Oh, really? Mine's pucker tea.
Say pucker again.
Pucker.
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 P-U-K-K-A.
Pucker. I wonder why it's called pucker.
Yeah.
Two friends just made a podcast. Two good friends just made a podcast. Two friends just made a podcast. It's called Culture Bucket. Two friends just made a podcast. Two good friends just made a podcast. Two friends just made a podcast. Culture Bucket, Georgia and Alex.
Okay. Hello. And welcome back to Culture Bucket and welcome to 2021.
Yeah.
A new year, a new start, new beginnings all round.
Absolutely.
We're going to leave 2020 in the past. We're never, ever going to talk of it again. And we're moving on into pastures green with 2021. And Culture Bucket is still with you. We're back. We're bigger than ever. We're ready to list some pop culture.
Yes.
And discuss, things. It's going to be good. I'm George. My name's George, as always. It's not changed. Lots of things have changed with the arrival of the new year, but not my name, and neither has the name of my esteemed co-host, Alex. Hello.
Hi, George. Hi, everyone.
How are you feeling? New year? You feeling good?
Great. I think 2020 wasn't that bad. They've been worse. Years.
Yeah, there was the plague that swept across Europe in the Middle Ages. That was a pretty bad handful of years.
Yeah, there was the Spanish flu at the beginning of the 1900s.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was the COVID-19 pandemic. That was pretty awful as well. Anyway, moving on. It's time to talk about culture and not current affairs. That's not our purview.
No.
So let's. It's been a minute since we chatted about culture. So let's do a culture catch up.
This is Culture Catch Up Time. This is where we talk about what we've watched, what we've read, what we've listened to, and probably some other stuff. Culture Catch Up Time.
I will start the culture catch up with a little bit of music. Let's talk about music for a moment.
Yeah.
I've been listening to the last sort of big album, at least on my radar, that hit in 2020 in early December, I think it was. The latest Miley Cyrus album, Plastic Hearts.
Yes.
You're doing something with your head. You're sort of bopping along.
Yes,
have
baby.
you listened to Plastic Hearts, Alex?
Of course I have. Who hasn't?
Loads of people, probably. Lots of people have opinions about Miley.
Yeah.
So I am a bit of a Miley Cyrus fan. In particular, her 2013 album Bangers, I think, is an amazing pop album. It was like formed part of a trilogy of pop albums that came out that were huge for me across a span of like 2 or 3 years. You had that, and then you had 1989 by Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Massive album, and then you had Carly Rae Jepsen's Emotion album, which is also an absolute banger, and was full of 80s nods to the 80s, as is Miley's new album, Plastic Hearts.
Yes.
It's a full-on 80s pop rock
extravaganza
party. Yes. We've got Billy Joel.
Yes.
We've got Joan Jett.
Yes.
We've got Stevie Nicks.
Yes.
And we've got Dua Lipa, who doesn't quite have the 80s cred, but is also well worth having along for the ride.
Yeah, I guess.
So yeah, I love this album. I love it. I absolutely love this album. It is so much fun.
Yeah.
It's just, she did Bangers, which was a really fun album, and then she did an album with the Flaming Lips, which was weird and not one I go back to often. And then she did Younger Now in 2017. which had Malibu on it, and I honestly didn't really listen to that album. It seemed slightly less my kind of thing.
I really liked that album. I thought that was a
yeah,
good
I remember
album.
you saying it was good.
Not
I'm not
bangers,
saying it's a bad album, but it just wasn't quite what I go to Miley for. And then she did, like last year, she was putting out, she said she was going to put out a trilogy of EPs, and she put one of them out, and then just the rest sort of vanished, and it wasn't really clear what she was doing. And it suddenly turned out that she decided to just go and make a full-on album, and it hit. It came out.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
What are the highlights for you, Alex?
I'm just opening the Spotify a second. So I've been listening to a lot of stuff recently. So
I've been listening to pretty much just this.
I really.
Yeah.
Okay. So my Okay. So I think my highlight is Midnight Sky.
Oh yeah.
I do love that one. When Joan Jett came out, I didn't realize she was in the album, and then I was like, I know this. I know this word. I know this voice, and I like Bad Karma. That's a good song. And one thing that I unexpected and made me kind of tear up was at the end of the album when she sings Zombie, which is a song originally by the Cranberries.
Yep.
Yes. And tragically, I think last year, the singer passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, I don't know, it's such a good version, and I really like that song. And I don't know, I got really emotional listening to that. And so yeah, like there's a lot of good songs in the album, but that one just broke me. I was like, oh.
It's a really good cover, and I think one of the members of the Cranberries has said that they think it's one of the best covers of that song they've heard.
It's a beautiful cover. Like I was walking to work
pretty beloved.
at like I think it was 7:30 in the morning, like crying and singing, and thank God I had my mask on because it's a good thing about having a mask. But yeah, I think the album is amazing. I wasn't expecting it to be so good.
No, neither was I. I was a bit like, okay. And then, like, I think a few hours before it hit Spotify, I was like, oh, just see what the reviews are like. And all the reviews were like, it's a rock album. And I was like, is it? What? Oh, what? And then, yeah, I listened to it, and it rocks pretty hard. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I really like the Midnight Sky remix with Stevie Nicks on it.
Yeah.
Is excellent.
Yes.
With the, is it Edge of 17 that sort of, they mash it up with that, which is really cool. And yeah, that zombie cover, and then the Dua Lipa duet "Prisoner" is a great song. I really like that song.
It's okay. It's an okay song. It's like I think,
really like it.
I think it's not the best song in.
No, it's not the best song in the album, but it's
got
it's a fun song. What?
But it's got Dua Lipa.
It does have Dua Lipa, and it keeps getting stuck in my head. Prisoner. And yeah, Midnight Sky is really
and then
good.
he says, "I can't get you out of my mind."
Yeah, it's accurate.
Yeah, perfect.
And the first two tracks, WTF Do I Know and Plastic Hearts, are really good as well. Yeah,
that
it's just
song,
yeah.
The first song
if you're...
made me scream. It was just so accurate. It's really accurate.
Yeah.
To probably like a lot of people's experiences, but I felt like it was talking to me, that song. And I can understand that. Yeah.
And I feel like there's a lot of people who sort of write off Miley Cyrus because, you know, her public persona has been quite controversial in the past, I guess. And she does and says a lot of things that rub people up the wrong way. And some, you know, that you meet a lot of people that will just have this immediate negative reaction to if you mention it. But I think that if you're listening to us and, you know, you've kind of followed some of our recommendations and have a bit of faith in our taste, you know, maybe give it a go if you've never tried it before. I think it's an album that's a lot of fun if you just want a fun, good time.
Yeah,
have a
definitely.
go. Check it out.
That's a good review of the
Okay.
album. Fun, good time, good. But it is a good album. It's not just a fun, good album. It's just
No. It's a genuinely good album.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying it's a disposable.
yeah.
You know, I don't know. So, you know, I don't think pop music is disposable in the way that maybe some people view it as. I think that there's a lot of craft that goes into the best pop music, and you know, here she's fusing rock or 80s style rock with
Yeah.
pop music and producing something that is, you know, takes a lot of talent to do and is really good and worth everyone's time. So yeah, good job.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all the music I've been listening to
Mm-hmm.
that I haven't already spoken about in the past, if you see what I mean. So
Yeah.
move on. Buffy watch continues. Every time I sit down to watch something and think of watching one thing, inevitably I just put Buffy on.
No.
There's nothing else to watch at the moment.
Okay.
I'm now up to season 5,
Okay.
which is exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Season 4. So when I watched Buffy originally, I came in during season 5. That was the point I started watching it, and then a friend of mine had recorded a load of it off the TV onto VHS tapes that he let me borrow. So he didn't really have series 2 or 3. I think he had series 1, and then I watched like series 4. And a lot of people don't like series 4, and I've always had a soft spot for it because it was the first series I watched properly. And then series 5 I've always been a bit down on because I sort of came in halfway through and I didn't really get the story was a bit hard to follow because it's a very like heavily serialized season. This time round, it was really interesting. Season 4 starts off, the first half is brilliant. I was really into it. And then the second half of season 4 is pretty terrible. And I was like, okay, I kind of see what everyone's issue is with this season. Like, it gets really heavy into like the Initiative, which is this underground army that is beneath the university. And I don't know, the first half of the season is like Buffy at uni and trying to fit in at university and stuff like that. And that I kind of like that. But then when it becomes Secret Army Men and Adam and all of that, it does sort of lose me. And then season 5, that I have never really had much of a connection to because of the way I watched it was so kind of messed up. Watching it properly now as an adult, also because when I was a teenager, a lot of the themes of season 5 of Buffy were a bit lost on me because it's sort of about entering the adult world and having to deal with grief and loss and things that I just wasn't really equipped to deal with when I was that age. But watching it now, it has broken me in half repeatedly. Season 5, it's made me cry multiple times, and I haven't. For people that know Buffy, I haven't even gotten to the body yet. I haven't even gotten to the body, and it's made me sob repeatedly. So I don't know what I'm going to do when I get to that episode, but it's gonna be tough. It is so good. If you have never watched it, please watch it. It's just the best. And I've updated my character rankings. So new character rankings.
Okay.
Number 12, still Riley, but there's now an even bigger gap between him and number 11 because I really can't stand him.
Okay.
Number 11 is Dawn, who I might even move Dawn up quite soon, actually. I really like. A lot of people are down on Dawn. I love Dawn. Her story in season 5 is essentially like a metaphor for adoption and discovering you're adopted, and that is just, you know, again, when I was a teenager, I didn't really take that on board, but now that I'm watching it as an adult, it really has affected me quite a lot. I love Dawn. Number 10 is Xander. Problematic guy, but possible. Number 9, biggest drop, Oz.
Yeah.
Oz was at like number 4. Now he's gone all the way down to number 9.
That's a big drop.
I
2021
can't
has not
forgive
been
him
good to Oz.
No. What he did to Willow is unforgivable.
Unforgivable.
So Oz goes down to number 9. Tara moves up above Oz to number 8.
Yeah.
Tara's great. Cordelia number 7. 6 and 5 is Angel and Spike still. But pushing up above them for the first time is Anya, the absolute best. I forgot how much I loved Anya. She's so good. She's too good for Xander. He does not deserve Anya and her pure optimism.
Yeah.
And then the top 3 is never going to change. We've got Buffy,
Yeah.
Giles, and then Willow in number 1.
Okay.
That's like your Mount Rushmore of Buffy characters. Nothing's happening there. So there we go. Thought people might want to know.
Yeah.
The rankings have changed. They need to be updated.
Definitely.
They need to be aware. I imagine by the next time we record, I'll be deep into season 6, so we can have a season 6 discussion. In fact, the next time we record, I'll probably have finished thinking about our schedule.
How many seasons
Maybe I'll have finished
are there?
Buffy. 7.
Okay, so you've got 2 more.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, it's quite
2
long,
more.
isn't it, Buffy? I don't think
Yeah.
I've watched everything.
No, and you should, because it's the best. It's so good. Yeah, when I've finished, I'll bring you a ranking of the seasons to finish us off with that one.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to
Prisoner.
that. Prisoner.
I'm a prisoner too, Buffy. PS5 update.
Oh,
I've continued playing my PS5. It's pretty great. I finished yesterday the Demon's Souls remake.
Is that the one where you die all the time? And you go back?
So Dark Souls was the one that was number 1 on my video game
Yeah.
list. And then Demon's Souls is like the prequel, or the one that came before it, but is in the same sort of series. So I finished that. That was great. I mean, that is really brilliant stuff. I picked up Spider-Man Miles Morales, which is a good time. In fact, it's got a pretty cool, because you've seen Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, haven't you? Yeah. So in this Spider-Man game, as with every Spider-Man game, you unlock loads of different suits that you can wear, and because in this one you play as Miles Morales, who's in the main character of the Spider-Verse film.
Yeah.
You can unlock the suit that he has in the Spider-Verse film, and then you can turn on an option that, you know how that Spider-Verse movie has a different frame rate, so that it kind of looks like a motion comic book.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't quite have the same. Yeah, you can turn that on so that the suit in the game has a different frame rate and it looks like the film, and it is very, very cool.
That sounds amazing, actually.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's really, really good.
Cool.
It's a good game. It's a bit. I feel like the Spider-Man game and then this kind of update to it are a bit stuck in game design from like the mid to early 2000s, but ultimately it is pretty fun, but with some open world problems. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, playing as a Viking, continues to be very fun. That game is huge and ridiculous, and exploring medieval England is a good time, but it is a buggy game. It's got
What does a buggy game mean?
Like it doesn't always work as intended. Characters won't react how they're meant to react to things, and like it just sort of glitches out and things like that sometimes. It doesn't quite work properly. It's not a smooth, fluid experience. But you're used to that with Ubisoft games because they're so big and massive and open. It's difficult to make them totally watertight. But never mind. So there we go. That's music, TV, video games. Last thing is I have found the time to watch a handful of films since we last recorded. Starting with a film called Oculus, which stars, I think it's about 20... When did it come out? 2017? No, earlier than that. It stars Karen Gillan, who you may know from Doctor Who and Jumanji and Guardians of the Galaxy and all of those, as a girl whose parents died when she was younger, and her brother was accused of murdering them, and has been in prison ever since, and has just been released because people think he's safe now. But in fact, what nobody knows other than her, 2013 is when it came out, is that an evil mirror murdered their parents, not her brother. So she kind of teams up with her brother to try and take on the evil mirror, which she's tracked down. And it's directed by Mike Flanagan, who I'm quite a big fan of. He made Doctor Sleep, he made The Haunting of Hill House, Gerald's Game, and a few other pretty good films. He's a pretty good filmmaker. Hush as well, I think, on Netflix. Yeah. And it's kind of one of his earlier works, and it's cool. It kind of feels like quite a typical horror movie, but it doesn't do the typical horror movie things you expect. Like, it kind of works on building atmosphere and tension, rather than just having things jump out and scream and go boo and stuff like that. And it kind of focuses on the relationships between the characters, which isn't a surprise because he went on to make stuff like The Haunting of Hill House, which is all about exploring relationships between people and between siblings, in fact. So it kind of makes sense that he started off with something like this. And it was a pretty good time. It's not his best work, but it's definitely worth checking out. So yeah, Oculus. Not too bad. Then I watched the original Dawn of the Dead.
Okay.
Have you seen that?
No.
You should. It's a George A. Romero sequel to Night of the Living Dead came out in the 70s, I believe, and in fact had a lot of involvement. 1978 had a lot of involvement in its production from Dario Argento, the Italian director, and George Romero wrote the script in Italy, I think, while staying with Dario Argento.
Oh.
And I got this. It's because of various rights issues, it's always impossible to get hold of in any form. And finally, this company in the UK called Second Sight have released it on Blu-ray. And they did the classic thing of releasing it in a massive package with 3 discs and 3 soundtrack CDs and 2 books, so they could charge as much as they could for it and not releasing any kind of just normal version of it. So I had to buy that. But it was worth it because I've only watched it once before when I was a teenager and I didn't remember it at all. And it's a really amazing film. It's not like a typical zombie movie. Like, it's very low on action. It kind of sets up these characters, sets up them getting to this shopping mall in America, and then the rest of the movie is just sort of about them surviving in this mall. And until the end, there's never that much threat from the zombies. It's just about how they kind of deal with them on a day-to-day basis, and like how they kind of form a little family almost in this shopping mall to survive. Something that's like totally lost in the remake from the early 2000s, which I actually liked, but it's much more of an action zombie movie, whereas this is much more of a sort of almost a drama that just happens to have zombies in the background. It's quite famously sort of a satire of 70s/80s consumerism.
Okay.
With the zombies essentially being like what you see in the mall anyway, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's really funny and it's really weird and strange and different, and I really liked it. And there's not many people. I don't know. You probably already know if you like Dawn of the Dead or not, but if you've never seen it and you think it's just a kind of typical zombie film, it's not. It's something a bit different, and is worth checking out if you can get a hold of it to watch. Big recommendation. And did you ever watch Kenan and Kel?
No, I don't think so.
That was a good Nickelodeon show. Anyway, the guy, one of the main actors in Dawn of the Dead, played Dad in Kenan and Kel.
Okay.
And I always think it's funny that that happened. Then I watched a film called Brahms, The Boy 2. Have you heard of the Boy films? So
no.
I don't want to spoil. I'm not going to spoil them, but The Boy 1 came out a few years ago and stars Lauren Cohen from The Walking Dead, and is about a nanny it's about an American girl who goes to a house in the English countryside to be a nanny, and when she gets there, these 2 old people are like, "Here's our son Brahms," and they show her their son that she's there to look after, and it's a Victorian porcelain doll, and then they leave, and then the whole film is like, weird things are happening. Is this doll actually alive or not? And kind of makes it all very ambiguous. And it's quite, I mean, it's not the best film ever made, but it's quite creepy and effective. Brahms, The Boy 2, removes any ambiguity and is like, this doll is an evil doll and it is going to murder you. And look at its teeth. One of its eyes is made of teeth. And isn't that terrifying? And it's a very different film. And this time it's... what's her name? The actress who plays the mum in it is Katie Holmes. Katie Holmes, who was married to Tom Cruise.
Okay. Yeah.
Plays a woman who she's a mother, and early in the film, home intruders attack her, and her son witnesses this horrific attack, and it makes him mute. And his response to it is to go mute, and their response to their son becoming mute is to go and live in a big creepy house in the countryside. Wherein the boy finds Brahms, the doll, and it begins communicating with him somehow. And he starts dressing up in a little suit to look like the doll.
Is it a horror film?
It's kind of a horror film, but it's too silly to be scary.
Okay.
It's one of the silliest movies I've ever seen. It's not particularly good. But I watched it, so it's getting a mention here. Brahms, The Boy 2. Then I really have not much to say about this, but I watched a film called The Houses October Built, which is a found footage movie about a group of irritating Americans who are travelling around America in a big camper van to try and go to the creepiest haunted houses, like haunted houses that
Yeah.
people do, but not kind of normal fairground ones, like kind of extreme ones. They want to find the most extreme haunted house they
Okay.
possibly can. And they hear about a mysterious extreme haunted house called the Blue Skeleton Haunted House.
Yeah.
And can we find the Blue Skeleton Haunted House? And then eventually they find the Blue Skeleton Haunted House, and they all die, and it's not, it's perfectly fine, and it's it is what it is.
Okay.
Then I watched. I wonder if you've watched this yet. I watched on Disney Plus, Taylor Swift, Folklore, the Long Pond studio sessions.
No, I haven't been able to watch it.
So we both like Taylor Swift's album, right?
Yeah.
Folklore. The Long Pond studio sessions is a movie she's made for Disney Plus where her, Aaron Dessner from The National, one of my favourite bands we all know, who co-wrote, I think, 11 of the songs on the album with her, and Jack Antonoff, her longtime sort of collaborator, who also co-wrote some of the album. The three of them sit down at the Long Pond Studios and talk about each song from the album and then perform it.
Ooh.
And that's basically the film, is every song on the album being performed with some commentary by them about kind of what each song is about. The Long Pond Studios is the studio that the National recorded the album Sleep Well Beast in, and there's a photo of the studio on the cover of that album. So to see a whole film shot around this iconic location that I have a lot of reverence for due to the National filming there and stuff was amazing. Taylor Swift comes across extremely, human in it. I know she's a massive celebrity and stuff, and who knows what she's actually like but she comes across like a very nice person in this film. Aaron Dessner is just a gem, a wonderful gem. Jack Antonoff is slightly irritating, but never mind.
Why?
He just seems to want to tell Taylor what her lyrics are about all the time. I don't know. He's fine. He's not a terrible man, but he just kind of seemed to. I don't want to say something that's going to get me in trouble, but he seemed tiny little bit like he was mansplaining her own music to her. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that was just my take on it, or maybe I just dislike him because he looks like a kind of trendy hipster man, and I took a slight dislike to him. But who knows? Anyway, I'm sure he's wonderful. Sorry if you ever hear this. I don't know why you would, but Anyway, that's really good. I would recommend if anyone has listened to that Taylor Swift album and liked it, and you've got quiet, couple of hours on a Saturday afternoon with not much to do, sit down and just put that on, because it is an easy and lovely, delightful watch. It features a cameo by Bon Iver, because he turns up to do his vocals on Exile, one of the highlights from the album. And it's great. And then the final thing for me to talk about this week is Train to Busan presents Peninsula, which I finally saw is the sequel to Train to Busan, although sequel in not very much, to be honest. Train to Busan was a Korean zombie movie from a handful of years ago, set on the verge of a zombie outbreak, primarily on a train that is going from Seoul to Busan in Korea, and is about a man and his daughter primarily attempting to survive on this train as zombies sort of infect it. Peninsula has no characters from Train to Busan in it, and is set 4 years later as a ex-soldier is hired by some criminals to go back into Korea, which has now become, an apocalyptic wasteland of zombies, to try and find some missing money, basically. So it's sort of, and it ups the action, and it turns it into kind of a Fast and Furious-esque action thriller, as opposed to the character study that the original Train to Busan was. It couldn't be more different from Train to Busan. And it's okay, but it's not. I mean, Train to Busan is a 5-star film for me. I really love that movie. If anyone hasn't seen it and they like zombie movies, they absolutely should watch it. Yeah. Peninsula is much more of a sort of in the vein of World War Z, maybe, just like zombie action stuff, and it's fun, but it doesn't stick with you, I don't think, in the way that the original did. But it's got some cool visuals and some cool imagery. It just feels like maybe the budget wasn't quite there for what the director wanted to do. It feels a little bit restrained in terms of the fact that it feels like it wants to be a massive action blockbuster, and it just doesn't quite have the budget to go there, so it sort of ends up not quite being one thing or the other. But you know, it was fun, worth a watch if you get a chance. But I wouldn't go out of my way to see it. Unlike Train to Busan, which you absolutely should go out of your way to see because it's a masterpiece.
Want to see that one.
Yeah, no, it's great. So there we go. That's my culture catch up for this week. How are you, Alex? What have you been doing?
So I watched an anime. I see the season 1 of a new anime.
Okay.
It's it's called, I don't know if you know, it's called Kimetsu no Yaiba.
Nope.
Which is Demon Slayer, I think. The
Oh!
translation in English.
Oh. Is the
Oh.
the theme tune by Lisa? Is the theme tune called Gorenge?
I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. Gurenge is a song by Japanese Lisa. It was released Demon Slayer. Yeah, it is. How do you know about that?
For work-related reasons I can't go into on the podcast.
Okay. Well, yeah.
But I've heard the intro music.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool intro music. It's very rocky.
It is.
It reminded me a little bit of like Evanescence, maybe because of her voice.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So so it's an anime that is super popular in Japan, and it's about this boy called Tanjiro Kamado, and he lives in a life in the mountains, and they're poor but pretty happy, and then one day he goes out, and when he comes back, his family is being slaughtered by a demon. Demons are all around, and they usually come out at night, and it's pretty dangerous to be in the mountains. So all his family is slaughtered, but his sister has been turned into a demon, but not a bad one. So his mission is to return his sister into human form. So basically that's it. So
that's the plot of an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, exactly. Fantastic. See,
Giles gets turned into a demon.
So this kid then sets off, and he has loads of adventures and lots of like fighting, and he meets people then he becomes a demon slayer, and then he fights lots of demons, and then he finds other demon slayers, etc., etc. I've only one season has come out, and in Japan, the film has come out as well. So there's a season, a film, and then there's going to be a second season. So I'm pretty excited to watch the film as soon as possible. So the animation is incredible. Like, it's so good. It was just beautiful to watch. Maybe not my favorite genre of anime, but you kind of get really engrossed into it because it's kind of the more like it took me a few episodes to get into it. At the beginning I was just a bit like, because it kind of reminded me of Dragon Ball in certain points where it kind of sets the scene and it talks for ages and about powers and kind of what a One Punch Man kind of takes the mick out of.
Oh,
you know?
Tell me more.
Yeah. So it's kind
Keep going.
And it's also very graphic. It was just, there's a lot of blood, there's a lot of amputations, and it's pretty gross actually, but it's good. It's okay. I like well,
You said it's good. It's okay.
It's okay. I got really into it. It's one of those animes that starts and you're not really into it, but you carry on watching it, and then you get really into it. And so I'm not sure if it's good because it's good, or it's because I just watched a lot of it. I don't know. I hope it's because it's good. And then I watched another anime. I finally watched Weathering with You, or Tenki no Ko.
Exciting.
Yeah, which is from the same director that created Your Name,
Yeah,
Makoto
yeah.
Shinkai. And music is still by Radwimps, so is a second collaboration with Radwimps. So I
Nice.
was very excited to watch it because I've been wanting to watch it for ages, and it came out on Amazon Prime like last month. So got it straight away. And it's about a high school boy who runs away from home, and he goes to Tokyo. And in Tokyo at the moment it's raining all the time, and people don't know why. And then as soon as he arrives in Tokyo, on the boat to Tokyo, he befriends this guy who saves his life. And then as soon as he gets to Tokyo, he meets this girl, and he goes and lives with the guy that saved him on a boat. But then he finds out that the girl that he meets at the beginning kind of can manipulate the weather, and it's about that.
Okay.
Yes. The animation is amazing. The animation
Yeah.
and visuals are out of this world. It's just, they blow your mind.
Okay.
But I was so disappointed.
Oh, really?
I was so disappointed. And that's why I don't know. Like, I would recommend to watch it just for the visuals.
I'll watch it. I'll watch it.
Yeah,
for sure.
please, because I would definitely recommend it for the visuals because it's beautiful. Classic. It's beautiful. But it's just really not clear, and things happen for not a clear reason, and it makes little sense. And after Your Name, I was like, oh, I love Makoto Shinkai, and I watched another of his films, which is called 5 centimeters per second. Like, still beautiful, really, really crisp animation, but it made no sense. And similar to that, but then that was before Your Name, so I thought, oh, maybe that was just kind of like a, somewhere to start. Then there was Your Name, which was amazing, and the story is incredible. It is perfect. And then this one, where I was just, I was just really disappointed, and it made me kind of upset for a couple of days. Because
Wow.
I was so excited by it. Like, I was looking forward to it so much, Makoto Shinkai, Radwimps, even the songs are not that great. Like, they don't really work in the film. Like, I listened to the album before the film, and I thought it was really good. But then it's like I didn't hear them in the film. It was really weird. And there's a lot of plot holes for me. And yeah, I was disappointed. But if you fancy watching something really beautiful, definitely good watch.
Cool. Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's surprising. I'm surprised.
Yeah, me too.
It's interesting. Yeah.
And that's why I was so disappointed, because I was looking forward to it so much.
I know you. I remember when it wasn't out and you tried to make us watch it, and it was impossible.
Impossible. Yeah. But yeah, I've got it now. I bought it. So I wish I hadn't, but never mind.
Sometimes you don't know, do you, until you've...
Yeah.
I have a limited edition steelbook of Train to Busan Presents Peninsula that I'm questioning life choices regarding, but never mind.
But yeah, and then let's go to music. So I listened to the Miley Cyrus album, which we talked about. I listened to an album by Willow Smith and Tyler Cole, which together are called The Anxiety, and I think the album is also called The Anxiety. And it was released this year, I think March, and on the release, and on the release date, Willow Smith and Tyler Cole put themselves in a box in a museum and stayed there for 24 hours, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah. yeah, it depends on how you look. It could be like a really interesting concept, and it could be a really weird concept. You know what I mean?
I do know what you
Maybe.
mean.
Yeah, maybe a little bit bougie, but maybe they wanted to show. I think they wanted to show how anxiety
Sometimes,
can affect you and people watching you.
yeah.
I guess.
Sometimes people are in boxes.
Yeah, exactly. In glass
Yeah.
boxes. But
Like David Blaine.
I sent you the album maybe a week ago. I don't know if you listened to it.
I'll be honest, I did not.
No, yeah, no problem. I was just wondering. So the album covers a lot of genres. It starts with
Okay.
like a really punk rocky kind of like angry, ragey couple of songs, and then the more the album goes, the more the calmer it gets, and the more kind of slow and chill, and yeah, it gets. And I really enjoyed it. I think is a good album. Is different. I wasn't expecting it. I listened to it quite a few times, and I thought it was I liked how he started really like ragey and kind
Yeah.
of made you feel a bit anxious, and then it calmed down. It just, and then I read a few things, and it kind of like thinking about, you know, maybe a panic attack, or and how you feel about, you know, different things, and how do you feel in different stages. And I thought it was really, really good, and I enjoyed it. And a bit like Miley, I feel people judge artists like Miley Cyrus and Willow Smith
Mm.
before actually maybe listening to the album. So when I saw the album, I was like, oh, it's Willow Smith. And I thought, what? Why? You know, I know she's Will Smith's and Jada Pinkett Smith's daughter. I know she's had everything on a, you know, available to her, but I feel maybe we judge a lot these kind of artists, and
Yeah.
I feel I gave it time, and I really enjoyed it, and I think artists like these have to be given more time rather than just more judgment. I think we're in such a judgmental society that we go like, oh, Willow Smith, but it's good. It's a good album. I really enjoyed it, and yeah.
I literally can't find anyone even talking about it on the internet, let alone.
Exactly. And I feel, I don't know, I just sometimes I get a bit frustrated with those things, because I go, oh, I'm not going to listen to Miley Cyrus because it's Miley Cyrus. Why? You know, she's good, and Willow Smith is good, and give it a chance and see how it is. And yeah, there's one song that I really don't get in the album, which is a bit, I don't know. If you listen to the album, it's got some really kind of like simple lyrics, but maybe it's part of the, it's like, oh, we don't, at one point it says like, we don't want to be controlled by the system. Like, I don't know. I felt that was, I felt that was a bit.
Not the system.
Yeah. But that was the only down thing about the album. It's just the only song that I think is maybe could have been done better, but I think it's a good album, and I've got a lot of time for her.
Do you know what I do when I see a system? I smash it.
And then I decided to listen to the album by Clippings, Images of Bodies Being Burned or something.
No, Visions of Bodies Being Burned. Thank you very much. You can guess where this conversation's about to go if you can't even get the title of the album right.
Oh, sorry. You know my memory. I'm like, blah, blah, blah. I wasn't expecting.
I apologise.
I was not expecting that, and I was pleasantly surprised, and I blinking loved it.
Did you?
So good.
Really?
So good. Like,
what?
I was listening to it, and I was like, what? It's just... There's some good beats in there.
Yeah.
like the style he raps in. Is it raps? Raps?
Yeah.
Sings?
Yeah.
Sings? Raps?
He's a rapper.
Yeah. But I don't want to sound like an old woman, you know. Oh, I like his rapping. I like his
Look,
fast voicing.
it's all right to say that you like his rapping.
Yeah, I
It's not
like his
unusual.
rapping. I think it's really good. I think it's a really interesting concept to have a horror album.
Yeah.
And in the morning, I was walking down this alleyway to get to school, and it was dark, and it was freaking me out a little bit. The first song, because I put it on whilst walking, and the first song kind of starts a little bit like boom, boom, and you're huh, huh. So I changed, and then I listened to it on my way back, and I thought it was I enjoyed it. So good recommendation. I thought that was really good.
Wow, I'm glad.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah, I thought it was brilliant. And also the other thing that you talked about, which was the new album by Gorillaz, which is called names
Song Machine Volume 1 Strange Times.
Song Machines Volume 1 Strange Times. And I get what you mean by a bit eclectic.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed that album.
Yeah?
I thought it was just really, really good. And then when Elton John came up, I was like, yeah, Elton, I forgot about you. Beautiful. But no,
That's
I
totally
really...
fair.
No, I really enjoyed it. So, it's good. Not as good as clippings. I think it's a bit too random. I like the songs. It's definitely something that there's a big mismatch of music, but I enjoyed it. But clippings, good discovery for me. And
I'm glad about that. You haven't gone back and listened to the other horror album, have you then?
No. I was just
That's
listened to that
what's
one.
that called? There Existed an Addiction to Blood.
Oh, I might give that
Actually,
a listen.
It was quite interesting this week, actually. You know, Spotify put out their Wrapped 2020 thing.
Yeah.
And then when you start playing it, starts playing. When you start watching the statistics, it plays snippets of songs that you've listened to this year. Yeah?
Yeah.
So when I first opened it, I guess it's meant to play something that you like, but it played an interlude from the first Clipping horror album that's just like an audio recording of a woman going, I heard chimpanzees in my room at night and somebody tried to strangle me, and it was just really strange to like have these statistics about the music I like while this woman just talks about being haunted by a ghost. It was like where the algorithm has just completely broken down.
Oh, yeah. No, it was good. I don't know how I completely forgot that. Well, no, I hadn't forgot that you talked about clippings. I knew you talked about tips, but Spotify just gave me the
to stop
album.
you just for one moment, because otherwise it's clipping, not clippings.
Oh.
Sorry. Please continue. I do apologise for correcting you. I feel bad.
You know why I call them clippings? Because isn't the album, are those like nail clippings? Or teeth?
Teeth.
Because I thought, and that's why I've been calling them clippings, because for me, those look like nail clippings. And I looked at the album cover, I was like, oh, gross.
No, it's teeth. And the other horror album has the same, the layout is the same, but it's nails instead of teeth. But not fingernails, like, hammer, 9-inch nails, that kind of thing.
Ah, okay.
If you see what I mean.
Yeah, so it's all like a word jumble.
Candlesticks in the dark, visions of bodies being burned.
But yeah, it's good. It's good. Really, really good. But thank you. And that's
You're welcome. I'm glad you liked it.
Cultural catch up.
That brings us comfortably to our homework discussion.
Homework time.
Mm.
Yes.
Sit down at the back and be quiet and get out your book, because it's time to discuss your homework. Now.
I'll start, as I started Culture Catch Up.
Yes, please.
My job was to read the novel Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata, which was published in 2016. It is a first-person narrative tale of a 30-something, 34-ish-year-old. Can't remember her exact age, but she's in her mid to early 30s, I think. 30, let's say 34 for the sake of convenience. 34-year-old woman who, since the age of 16, 18, has spent her entire life working in a konbini, which is the Japanese term for a convenience store. And Japanese convenience stores are a very special, they're not like convenience stores necessarily in England, or I don't know about America, but certainly not like in England. They're open 24 hours a day. They're always brightly lit at all hours of the day. And they all kind of are laid out the same. You walk in and the tills are on the left and then the magazines are to the right, and directly ahead of you is the chilled sandwiches and rice balls, and at the back is the fridges with the drinks in, and like basically every single convenience has just about that layout. And you go there to pick up your Amazon parcels and pay your electric bill, and it's just basically the little community hub for all the little admin things you need to do, as well as where you can buy food and basic clothes and just about anything else that you could need. They are wonderful places.
Oh, they're my favorite places.
But certainly working there is the domain of young people who need part-time work to get them through their studies or other things, and it's not necessarily a career. So Keiko, the main character, is at a stage in her life where not necessarily her friends, because she's not the type of character, she doesn't have friends necessarily. She's sort of it's not explicitly stated, but she's sort of coded as having autism, being autistic, I would say. I don't want it to sound... I feel like it's fair to say that the way she is described, you would assume that she would be diagnosed with, to be on the spectrum.
Well, I guess she's got some social anxiety and some difficulties in...
social anxiety, but also, an inability to kind of understand, like when she does something that people don't feel comfortable about, like for example hitting another child over the head in school with a shovel. She can't understand why people don't like her to do that, and she sort of learns to behave in certain ways, not because she realizes they're the right ways to behave, but because she realizes that people will not be disturbed by her behavior if she acts in those ways. Does that make sense?
Yeah. She can be considered like somebody that's on the autistic spectrum.
Yeah, possibly. But it's not. That's not explicitly stated, and I don't want to
no, absolutely not.
assign
But I think
anything, and it's not. It's not a negative. Even it's. Yeah, it's just is what it is. So she's a particularly specific individual who likes to live her life the way she likes to live it. She's always enjoyed living in the convenience store, but the people in her life, such as her sister and some, again, I hesitate to say friends because she doesn't really seem to think of them as friends, but just like acquaintances that she has.
People that she knows,
yeah, just people she knows, all seem to feel like she's wasting her life by working in this convenience store. And the story of the book is kind of quite simple. It's just kind of, a period of her life where she considers maybe not working in the convenience store anymore and exploring what she would do instead, partly through the lens of meeting a character called Shiraha, who comes to work in her convenience store, and is quickly sort of leaves because he is, like her, a bit of an outsider, but unlike her, far more willing to be aggressively unpleasant towards other people. And he ends up kind of staying with her for an extended period of time, and she sort of explores what it might be like to do something else through him, and he kind of takes advantage of her. It's a very weird relationship that the two of them form in the book that's quite hard to describe.
Definitely.
But that's kind of the main thrust of the book. But it starts with her just describing what it's like to work in a convenience store, which is amazing.
Yeah.
and it really does kind of, if you've never been to Japan, you will come away with a really good understanding of what makes these shops quite special if you read this book. And I definitely would recommend that you do read this book. I really, really enjoyed it, for sure. It's really funny. You know, the way she sees the world and the way she describes things is pretty humorous. But then it is also... I actually read an Amazon review that was like, this book was described as being darkly funny, and I don't see that at all. It's not dark in any way, and something else. And I'm like, no, it is dark. It's really dark. Like, what are you talking about? It's exceptionally dark. Like, the way she views the world and views people, and particularly the way the character of Shiraha talks and behaves is horrible. He's a really, really, like, you know, he kind of personifies toxic masculinity, or maybe not so much toxic masculinity, but like kind of it's quite a male thing to sort of see everything in the world as being something that is owed to you. Like he sees himself as being owed a good life and a wife and money, and he shouldn't have to work for it. And he kind of takes advantage of Keiko to quite a severe degree, because he obviously doesn't see any kind of moral problem with letting somebody else provide for him, or letting a woman provide entirely for him, because that's the job of a woman, is to provide for him, while he kind of does things that are more important than earn money and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I'm glad you asked me to read it. I enjoyed it. It's quite a quick read. It's not super long.
No.
But it's entertaining. I read it, I think, probably in about 3 sittings in total.
Yeah, it's really it's really easy read as well.
Yeah, I mean, what's your take on Keiko and Shiraha and that whole thing?
Well, I feel she does not fit in the society that surrounds her, and she has never fitted in the society that surrounds her. And the people around her constantly want to change her, and she's very happy to do what she does because she feels safe. She feels safe in the pattern of working in a convenience store, and she feels safe in that environment. But people do not understand that, because society does not want that. They want her to have a proper job and be married, and I feel like, although Shiraha. Well, the guy that then goes and lives with her, although it looks like he's using her, she is using him as well for her own purposes. So I think in a way they're both kind of good for each other.
I think
And
that's
he
sort of
speaks- Yeah, I hate the way he speaks, and is really like, but I think also he's a child. Like he talks like a boy child. He doesn't talk like a man. So maybe he's got his issues as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's, in a way, that it's a good, for me, it's just a good thing to show how these two outcasts of society, which in reality they don't have to be outcasts, find each other and use each other for living a life without people being on their backs. But yeah,
I feel like that's kind of like she suggests to him initially that he move in with her because they can use each other and it'll be mutually beneficial. But I feel like pretty quickly it becomes clear that it's mainly beneficial to him, and she's not. She gets less and less out of the arrangement as the book goes on, up to the point where really she should just get rid of him, and he is just a bit of a parasite on her. That's how I kind of read it. I felt like it started off as mutually beneficial, and then, by the time that he's sort of completely controlling her life and just constantly saying horrible things to her, I was like,
he's really
this
horrible.
isn't
He is really horrible to her,
this isn't a beneficial thing anymore for her. This is just him kind of.
Yeah.
Also, he sort of takes his anger on society out through her. It seems like almost like he's like, society's horrible, and they'll tell you off for doing, like, he sort of magnifies all the problems that already exist and convinces her. I don't know. I didn't like him. I did not.
But
like
then
him.
also, she's not. I feel like she is not really bothered that much by him. I don't feel like he bothers her that much. He bothers me and he bothers you as the reader.
I feel
I don't
like,
think he-
well,
I don't think
based on... Go on, sorry.
No. I feel like at some point it doesn't bother her that much, and yeah, he's lazy and he doesn't do things, and he's always in the bathroom.
Yeah.
But
But then the way the book ends, like the actual ending of the book, to me implies that he does
yeah,
bother her quite a bit.
I guess so. I need to read it again. It's an interesting
definitely.
book.
It is an interesting book. It's a very good book.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you
Yeah.
recommended to put it on your list. And yeah, I would definitely recommend it to anybody else. I think I'd give it, I don't know, like 4.5 out of 5, something like that. It's fantastic. It's very, very good. I can see why you would rank it as one of your favourites. I would also be happy with sort of a coffee table picture book full of photos of combinis.
Yeah.
So, be a pretty good book for me. I'd get probably a lot out of that as well. So if that book exists, I'd love to hear about it.
Of the different combinis as well, and the different things they offer.
Show me a 7-Eleven. Show me a, what's the one with an L that begins with an L?
Lawson's.
Show me a Lawson's, a Family Mart, a Circle K.
Circle K. But Circle K is the worst one, I think.
I know,
Like
but you know,
The best one was Lawson's.
No,
7-Eleven.
7-Eleven's number one.
Yeah, but nobody beats Lawson Pizza Man, which is like this little bun of like this little steamed bun with cheese and tomato in it.
You can get Pizza Muns in other. 7-Eleven had Pizza Man, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but I tried all the Pizza Muns in all the combinis, and Lawson was the best one.
Maybe. I just preferred the range in Lawson. I can't remember what it was now, but there was always something that Lawson didn't have that I liked. And 7-Eleven sold the melon Fanta that came in the metal bottle. That was great.
Oh goodness, I miss convenience stores. Oh, Japanese
so do I,
convenience
so
stores are
much.
like the best.
Give me some cow piss.
Give me
And I'll be happy.
Oh, cow piss. My homework.
Yes, please.
I was asked by you to read The Call of Cthulhu, which is a short story written by American horror writer H.P. Lovecraft.
That's the one. That's the man.
Yeah. So this story was written in 1926. And it was first a series of stories what was serialized in this magazine, which was called Weird Tales.
I think he published quite a lot of his stories.
Yeah. There are 3 chapters in this short story.
Yeah.
And from what I have understood, they are recounts of the main characters reading about it.
Yes, which is a common storytelling device for H.P. Lovecraft. He a lot of his books were like retellings through diary entries and letters.
Yes.
And things.
So the main character, which is we don't know the name, is reading his uncle's.
Yeah, I think that's right.
His uncle's papers. His uncle has died, and he's reading the papers about this entity, about these things, entity. So the narrator pieces together what is happening, what has happened from these papers. So there are 3 chapters. The first one is called Horror in the Clay, where he talks about his uncle actually talks about something happening. And then the second one is The Tale of Inspector Lagrasse, which is where...
is it about something happening?
It's just about something happening, but people die and some people get arrested and they're in a cult.
Is that where they find in the woods?
Yes,
cult
in the woods and they're cult. And chapter number 3 is called The Madness from the Sea, is where they actually find Cthulhu and everything is they're in the sea, and they found this Norwegian guy who's gone crazy, and I think
Yes.
they actually go and see Cthulhu.
Yeah. And we find
But
out
I'm
that
not sure.
Cthulhu's weakness is actually a small boat.
Yeah. So basically, I read this book.
Yeah.
And I had to read a lot of stuff around it to actually understand what was going on.
Yeah.
So what I would like to ask is,
Yeah.
why do you like this book?
Yeah.
Why? Like, what?
Okay.
What makes it your favorite? One of your favorite books?
So
And then we
shall
can
I?
talk.
So I'll talk more generally about why I like H.P. Lovecraft's writing first, because that sort of is exemplified in this story. Do you see what I mean?
Okay.
So I like unusual narrative perspectives, and like about 60% of his stories are probably told similarly to Call of Cthulhu. I mean, most of his stories are told where the narrator is reading about something that has happened, and then at the end, the final thing that they read has some final revelation in it that drives the narrator crazy.
Yeah.
And that's the format of a lot of his books. I
But
like.
in this one,
Oh.
he doesn't go crazy, does he?
I don't think so. I don't.
This one he
I read
ends
about
pretty
3/4.
normal.
I reread it recently, but I didn't finish it. If you see what I mean.
Yeah. In this one, I think it doesn't go crazy. I was
Yeah.
expecting him to go crazy, but he didn't in the end.
Right.
Yeah.
I like. I like that he builds up a connected mythos. So there's a lot of things he talks about in various books that come back into other books, a bit like the MCU, which we'll be discussing later. It's all
Okay.
sort of interconnected.
Yeah.
I just like the idea of humans being menaced by something they can't understand, and the sort of atmosphere of hopelessness that pervades his worlds and his characters' lives, in that they are merely experiencing events that they are incapable of understanding, and they have no power in which to change or alter the course of events, and all they can do is tell their story, and let the world know what it is. Yeah,
That
okay.
makes me really excited. What you just said, I think, is incredible. Really, really exciting. But I
Okay,
could
let's-
not find it in this book. Like, I was so excited to read it because it's not really my genre. I don't really read horror, and I heard about this book for a long time. People have read it, and it's kind of a cult book. And I was really excited, but I did not get, like, the first page is amazing. Yeah, amazing. I feel like how it starts is like, yeah. But then I think it gets lost in Lost.
Lost in Lost.
Lost in Lost. Like, I was lost. Because at one point, I didn't realize he was reading his uncle's papers. And at one point, I was like, what? Why is he in the woods now? And
Okay.
I didn't realize that people were getting arrested, by whom I was really confused. But yeah, so the way he writes is interesting. It's very like wordy and like uses like big words and very
Yeah, lots of non-Euclidean geometry and things.
Yeah, and thinking about the time, I think is interesting because it was a interesting time. I think there was a lot of fear at the time, and I think probably this would have been effective as because people were scared already.
Yeah, in the world, there
readers.
was a lot of unknowns in the world still. That
Yeah,
kind of,
and I think
a lot of
that
gaps to be filled.
yeah, and I think that is probably that time probably made the book even scarier. I don't know, but it was. I'm glad I read it. I found it really difficult to read. I thought it was really hard to read because I just didn't really get into it, you know? Like, I feel like when you talk about it, it's much more exciting, and I want you to talk to me more about this. Like, yeah, because this is, and I was like, yeah, but I didn't read it in there. So, yeah, talk to me more about it. But I don't think it was as effective on me.
Fair enough. That's fair enough. It was always going to be not a surefire win for you, but I thought it would be interesting to see what you made of it?
Absolutely. I'm glad I read it. I'm glad I finally read this thing. And just because Cthulhu is such a, even if you haven't read H.P. Lovecraft or you don't know anything about him, at some point or another you'll have a friend that has got the t-shirt and has talked about it, not just you. But I knew about it, and it's pretty cult. It's like a cult, isn't it? It's culty.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I'm glad I read it.
And just some of the turns of phrase he uses I love. Like when there's the phrase about Cthulhu that's something like, in the city of R'lyeh, dead Cthulhu sleeps dreaming or something. Is that right? Or like just there's the imagery of like a dead god, but he's not dead because he's dreaming, but it says he's dead. Just that sort of opposing ideas within the same sentence, creating a sense of sort of confusion and dread. Yeah, no, that's what I love about it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Our top 5.
Today we are doing I don't quite know how to justify this, but it feels like a bit of a first in our top fives. It's a bit more specific than we normally do to start the new year with a bang, with a celebration of something we both love and enjoy. We're doing the top 5 films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So limiting to the 20 or so movies produced by Marvel Studios as part of the Infinity Saga, or whatever you want to call it so far. So no X-Men movies or Deadpool movies here, just pure Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yeah. How are you feeling about the list today, Alex?
I know I sound like a broken record, but it's always just, I thought I had it, written, like I thought I was ready, but I don't know. It just, some of them I watched a very long time ago. Some of them I watched only once. Some of them, I had a bit of a stint a few weeks ago where I watched like 5. So I don't know, but yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how much crossover there is, because it's a much smaller pool of options than usual.
Yeah, so I think we at least have one in common.
Possibly, although there's one that with a heavy heart I've left off my top 5, sort of in the knowledge that it will be in your top 5, and we can honour it then, if you see what I mean. So we'll see. Okay. We'll see. Shall I start? Shall I kick us off?
Yes, please. How was it for you? Was it easy for you to choose your 5?
Broadly, possibly difficult because there's a handful that I've always really, it felt like the sum that just had to be on the list, and then it left very little room for kind of the others that I like a lot, but aren't always at the top, if you see what I mean. So the top 2 or so. Actually, 1, 2, and 3 were pretty much set in stone, and then 4 and 5, it was like, how do I fit 6 films into 2 slots? And the answer to that is that I can't, and I just had to pick 2, and therefore I've left off. Honourable mentions today feels odd because I'm not going to just sit and list all of the Marvel movies. Yeah. But I have 2 movies in my honourable mentions because I just couldn't not mention them, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I've got two movies in my honourable mentions too.
Exciting.
Yes.
Exciting.
Okay, let's start. What's your number 5?
My number 5 is Doctor Strange.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. It's good, isn't it?
Why are you wowing it?
It's so good, isn't it?
Yeah, it is so good. Doctor Strange is great.
I didn't even put it in. I didn't even think about Doctor Strange. You know what?
Doctor Strange stars Benedict Cumberbatch as Dr. Stephen Strange, a surgeon who is in a car accident and loses the use of his hands, or at least fine motor skills that allowed him to be a great surgeon. So he travels abroad to find the Ancient One to learn how to fix his hands, and in doing so becomes the Sorcerer Supreme, guardian of the Time Stone and various other cool things. And it's just a great Marvel movie. I think what I like about it, I think the reason it is on my list is because at the end of the film, we kind of have to go a bit spoilery, I think, today. We have to assume, if you've not watched the Marvel movies, then, see if you like the sound of them from us, but be aware that there'll be some spoilers. At the end of the movie, kind of the main villain isn't Mads Mikkelsen, who sort of is the main kind of human villain, but the kind of primary villain of the movie is Dormammu from another dimension. And he defeats Dormammu not with a big energy blast or anything like that, but with logic. He kind of traps him in a time loop and is like, this is going to keep happening forever unless you go away and stop trying to destroy the Earth or whatever. And he just because of traps Dormammu in this time loop, tricks him with logic, and then wins the day through that. And I kind of really appreciate and enjoy the fact that as a Marvel movie, it doesn't necessarily end with a huge action-packed fight, although there are big set pieces and action-packed fights in it. But I like the fact that the primary villain is essentially too powerful to be defeated in a fight, so he defeats him with something else, with his intelligence and logic. And I really appreciate that. The supporting cast is great. BD Wong as Wong is really funny and wonderful as his sort of sidekick. Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One. Tilda Swinton is always brilliant in anything that she does, so that was fine. That was wonderful. Chiwetel Ejiofor as another one of his kind of compatriots is wonderful in the movie as I think Baron Mordo, is that right? I think he plays. And he may come back as a villain in the future. So yeah, Doctor Strange is my number 5 pick. I like it. Do you like it as well?
Yeah. I forgot about it. I like it a lot.
And
not that I didn't forget about it. It just is good.
Yeah. Is it Rachel McAdams plays his sort of love interest in it, I think, if I'm remembering rightly.
No.
No? Am I wrong?
I think so.
Okay, I'm going to look it up. Yeah, Rachel McAdams plays Christine Palmer.
Is it?
Yep, his love interest, who is good in the movie. There's a great scene where he's having an out of body fight in the hospital. Some of the special effects, by the way, are amazing. Like when they go into these other dimensions and you see reality folding in on itself and stuff. They've never really done anything like that in a Marvel movie before, and it does look amazing. And it makes me extremely excited to see Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, I think it's called. The sequel, which should be out at some point in the future, directed by Sam Raimi, off of Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2. So yeah, Doctor Strange, good times, like it.
Cool.
What's your number 5, Alex?
Okay, so my number 5 is Ant-Man.
Ant-Man, he's tiny, he's small, he's like an ant, but he's got the strength of a man, and he can talk to ants and rides on an ant called Anthony. It's Ant-Man.
Exactly. So Ant-Man stars Paul Rudd, Michael Douglas, Evangeline Lilly as kind of the main people. Michael Douglas, who is kind of supposed to be Ant-Man, is not Ant-Man because he's old now in 2000 and whatever.
He's the Hank Pym Ant-Man.
Hank Pym Ant-Man.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of doesn't want to hit that technology, the technology of shrinking really small, to go out because he thinks it's going to be really dangerous. But his estranged daughter and his former protege want to force him out of the company because they want their technology.
Yellow Jacket.
And that's the thing about talking about the Marvel Universe, because I don't really remember everything, so it's good to talk about it with you because it's just you remember a lot of stuff.
Thanks.
They
call me Memoro.
So then it focuses on Scott Lang, who is in prison, and he when he comes out, he says he's not gonna he's gonna lead a good path because he has to, wants to see his daughter Cassie. But then he meets Hank Pym that asks him to steal a suit from a house, his own house.
Yes.
And that's the suit of Ant-Man, and basically is the story
suit
of Ant-Man. Although I was really down on Ant-Man and Wasp, I really liked Ant-Man. I think
Yeah.
it's really fun, interesting, a really good kind of story, very humane because he's not really a superhero, Scott Lang. He's just a guy. Um, most of them are the ones on Earth, but he's just a normal guy, like a bit of a crook that just wants to see his daughter, really.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and there's not about I really like him as a character because he's really kind of pure and lovely and nice and he's funny. I love Paul Rudd and that's why I really like Ant-Man and that's why he's my number 5 because I really when I watched it at the cinema I really really enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, yeah. Similar to Doctor Strange, what I was talking about with the defeating the villain with intelligence or with logic. It doesn't do the normal Marvel thing of being a huge, massive set piece filled spectacle of Superman. It's about a heist essentially.
Yeah, and that's why I think I
it's
enjoyed
funny.
it because it was kind of like really more humane and more earthily about it, and like by the end the families reunite and there's a connection, and then when we see in Ant-Man and Wasp, then that everybody is kind of getting along. So I think that was the main purpose of Scott Lang and kind of Hank Pym as well because his daughter doesn't want to speak to him. And I think it's really, really good. And I think it's a good Marvel film. And I love Ant-Man in all the Marvel films. When he pops up, it's just like, yes, man, this is going to be a fun 5 minutes.
He's definitely, whenever he pops up in one of the other movies, it's always a good time. Especially when he's Giant Man in Civil War or Endgame. He's great in Endgame. And also Endgame hinges on his, I don't know, we might talk about Endgame later more, but he's a cool guy. I like Ant-Man.
Yeah. Me too. Number 4.
Number 4? Okay. My number 4 is 2019's Spider-Man Far From Home.
Ooh. That's I haven't watched the Spider-Man, so don't spoil them too much.
Okay, I'll try not to spoil it too much. I like Spider-Man, big Spider-Man fan. One of the first superhero movies I ever saw in the cinema was the original Spider-Man Sam Raimi edition with Tobey Maguire. And I like Tom Holland's Spider-Man. What are you doing?
Because those Spider-Mans were bad.
No, they're not. What are you talking about?
I didn't like them. Not
The
even at
Tobey
the time.
Maguire ones? Spider-Man 2 with Dr. Octopus is probably the best superhero film.
No.
There's fantastic. You're wrong, Alex.
I just don't think like Tobey Maguire was a good Spider-Man.
He might not be the best Spider-Man, but he's the Spider-Man we got.
Yeah, but also like he's supposed to be a high school. Like Tom Holland is perfect because he looks like a high school child, while Tobey Maguire looks like an adult being in high school, and it just felt weird even at the time.
Okay, it's willing
on.
suspension of disbelief, Alex.
Sorry.
You just have to accept that he's Spider-Man.
Okay.
And so I like Spider-Man, fan of Spider-Man, always liked Spider-Man. I think that Tom Holland is a brilliant Spider-Man because he does seem like a child, and it works well in the Marvel universe because there hasn't been up until the point that he was introduced a sort of teenage hero. We're dealing with Iron Man, Tony Stark's in his 40s, Captain America's in his 30s or 70s, depending on your perspective. It was a different view, and the first Spider-Man movie in the Marvel universe, Spider-Man Homecoming, is a great time. Michael Keaton is a good Vulture, and it's a good introduction to that character and his world. But Spider-Man Far From Home is just so much fun, and especially after the crazy intensity of Avengers Endgame, it's great to spend a couple of hours in the company of Tom Holland, who's eminently charming as Peter Parker, as he goes on holiday to Europe and has to deal with Mysterio, who's one of the all-time great Spider-Man villains, because his powers are all around illusion and making you see things that aren't there, and it's kind of quite scary in a way and interesting. Played by, we all know and love him, the wonderful Jake Gyllenhaal. And to be honest, Spider-Man Far From Home mostly earns its place on this list due to a standout performance by Jake Gyllenhaal, who I will always love, and he has a handful of scenes where he does his full wild manic Gyllenhaal thing, and it's just the best. It's glorious, and yeah, I love Jake Gyllenhaal, and that's why I like Spider-Man Far From Home. And it's also got, Samuel Jackson has a big role as Nick Fury. And he's always entertaining. He does a good job in this, and the supporting cast of characters around Spider-Man. I mean, the director John Watts, I think his name is, really focused in on these movies of making them high school movies and having a cast of high schoolers around Spider-Man, Peter Parker, and Zendaya, Mary Jane is brilliant. Zendaya's, we all know how good she is. She's wonderful in these movies. His best friend, who I unfortunately don't remember the name of, but his best friend is... my phone is terrible. Come on, it was there. Jacob Batalon plays his friend in it, and he's really good. And yeah, it's just cool that they kind of finished that initial run of Marvel movies with this slightly smaller kind of Euro trip adventure film, and it's really entertaining. And I can't spoil it because you've not seen it, but the post-credits bit in Spider-Man Far From Home is about as excited as I've ever been in the cinema.
Okay.
When it introduces a character that I was not expecting to see, and it was just delightful. So yeah, Spider-Man Far From Home. It's really good. It's cool and awesome, and it's unfortunately not on Disney Plus because of strange, stupid rights issues and things like that. But it's very much worth watching. Yeah, love it. Absolutely love it. What's your number 4?
My number 4 is the first Iron Man.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
The first Iron Man.
The first one.
I'm Tony Stark.
Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. So he's the son of a weapon contractor, Howard Stark, and he has to give a presentation to an Iraqi unit of new weapons. But then he gets kidnapped by I have no idea who. Do you know who?
He gets kidnapped by a terrorist organization.
Terrorist organization. He gets shrapnel in his heart. Is about to die, but then it's not. It's Tony Stark. So he comes. He puts a battery in his heart. Something like that. He becomes Iron Man. He's alive.
It's an electromagnet to keep the shrapnel in his body from his heart.
Yes. Fantastic. And he's in a cave, and he manages to escape by making like the first Iron Man suit out of like shrapnel, out of like stuff, primitive device. And once he's home, it becomes perfecting his beautiful armor, and it becomes, an Iron Man suit. And but then Jeff Bridges has different plans, which I don't remember his name.
Obadiah Stane.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to use weapons for good, but he wants to use weapons for bad, and then blah, blah, blah. I put it in because it's the first Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's my favorite character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I've always loved Iron Man. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, now is between him and Thor, and Captain Marvel, of course. Well, at the beginning, I loved him. So let's say for the first couple of phases, I love Iron Man.
Yeah.
Just because it was the first one, it was the first experience of a Marvel film, and I feel like it just started off this incredible journey of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Interesting.
And I think I'll always keep that film to heart because it was a film about a superhero, but it didn't take itself too seriously. In fact, apparently there was no script really, and
you sure that's true?
Well, there was a script, but there was a lot of what's it called?
Improvisation.
Improvisation from the great Robert Downing Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was a script, but there was a lot of improvisation because they wanted to like the story to be as enjoyable as possible. It's directed also by John I know, can I say his surname? Favreau. So that's also good. And I love Robert Downey Jr. I think it's a good film, and I put it in because I think it's just started this, and I remember watching it at the cinema and being blown away by it, just because it was kind of a first, and I think it will always be. And I've watched it a few times, and I really enjoy it all the time, and that's why I put it in. Oh yeah, yeah, I love Iron Man.
Interesting.
He's such a dick.
Yeah, he is. Okay. I remember seeing Iron Man in the cinema. It's so long ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like 12 years ago.
Oh my god, 2008.
12 years ago. Yeah.
Wow. I was 20.
Yeah.
Silly. I don't like Iron Man very much. Like, not the film. I like the film. I don't like the character of Iron Man that much. I've always found him like it was like Iron Man for me has always been a gateway into the more interesting characters that then came afterwards, like Thor or Captain America and stuff like that. And like, I'm not saying it's bad or anything, but I've never particularly connected, which is strange. I like comedy and things that are funny, and Robert Downey Jr. is a brilliant actor and his performance is brilliant and all of these things. But just a man in a robot suit that can fly and shoot lasers has never been my go-to.
It's just the love. He's got the love. I think it just adds something to every film that he's in every Marvel Cinematic Universe film he's in, and I think he's just got so much. He doesn't want to show empathy and love, but he has, and he's a billionaire and he's cheeky, and I don't know. There's something about him that I just really, really love. Iron Man.
Yeah, I mean, I probably like Tony Stark or Robert Downey Jr. more than Iron Man. Like, my favorite of the Iron Man movies is Iron Man 3, in which he spends quite a lot of it not in his suit.
Yeah.
And is kind of having to do as Tony Stark.
Yeah, because I definitely wanted to have an Iron Man movie in here.
No, that's totally fair. None of this would exist without Iron Man 1. So
exactly,
it's a worthy
and that's the
one.
thing. And if it had been a complete flop, imagine, DC haven't been able to create this, and they've been trying, for a very long time.
They keep making the films, though.
They keep making the films, but come on. This could have gone downward like DC Comics, but this film created and elevated the concept of superhero, and I think that's why I like it so much, because
what I loved actually about that first Iron Man, probably my favourite thing about it is, before that movie, my perspective on superheroes was always that they had a secret identity and nobody could know the secret identity. Like, Peter Parker is Spider-Man, Bruce Wayne is Batman, Clark Kent is Superman, all of these things. Yeah. And then at the end of Iron Man, when he stands up and just says, I'm Iron Man.
I'm Iron Man,
I just love that started this trend of the MCU really not really caring about this secret identity, which just is great. And can create more interesting stories when everybody knows who the heroes are, and that's what led to Civil War and all of these things. So yeah, no, good pick. Good pick. That was your number 4,
Thank
right?
you. That was my number 4, yeah.
Cool beans. Beans are cool. Right, my number 3 is Captain Marvel.
Ooh! I've got Captain Marvel as well.
Have you?
Yeah.
Is it your number 3? No, so let's talk. Shall we talk about it now?
Yeah.
Good.
Captain Marvel.
I adore Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel is the story of Carol Danvers, an Air Force pilot who is piloting an experimental aircraft one day, discovers or comes across a crashed alien spaceship, and ends up having her blood infused with alien DNA thing to make her super powerful, and she loses her memory and gets taken away and becomes Marvel. Or is that or Vers? Yes, no, Vers. She's Vers, isn't she? Vers. Marvel is Jude Law's character, I think. Yeah, I think that's right. And she's with the Kree. She's living with the Kree, and she's kind of a soldier for them. And then things happen with the Skrull, who are the bad guys, the shape-shifting bad guys. And she ends up crash landing on Earth, and shock twist, it's the 90s. And this is actually a prequel to all the other MCU movies. She crash lands in a Blockbuster video store.
Yes, baby.
A place that you used to have to physically go to get films on little black plastic boxes and put them in your TV and watch them. And she is quickly discovered by Nick Fury, played by Samuel L. Jackson, covered in CGI to make him look like he did in the 90s, which is the best.
Yeah.
And the soundtrack is just full of incredible 90s music. And she wears a Nine Inch Nails t-shirt, so I'm in love. And it's got a cat in it as well, which is pretty good. Or is it a cat, or is it a flurgan?
Who knows?
Who knows whether Goose is a cat or a flurgan? It's great. I mean, it's the first MCU movie led by a female hero. After Ant-Man and the Wasp was the first one that featured a female hero in the title, but shared it with Ant-Man, and then Captain Marvel is the first solo movie starring a female hero, and you couldn't have asked for a better one. Maybe it should have happened earlier on in the MCU, really, but it exists. It happened. We've had it. We'll hopefully soon have Black Widow, but to start with Brie Larson as Carol Danvers is about as good as you could hope for, because she is marvelous.
Amazing.
Yeah, she is wonderful.
Coupling, marvelous.
I occasionally hear people criticising her for being a Mary Sue, and to those people I say, go and jump in a swamp and stay there.
What?
I hate you.
What did you say?
She's criticised for being a Mary Sue by certain people.
What's a Mary Sue, though?
A Mary Sue is a phrase used by stupid man children to describe female characters that they feel are too strong, and it's not realistic, if you see what I mean.
What the? Don't let me swear.
Or she's too OP.
What?
She's a Mary Sue. She's this. She's that. None of that. I don't care about any of that. She's great. You know, she's the Marvel Universe's equivalent of Superman, as far as I'm concerned. And she's the best. The bit in the film where Jude Law is like, fight me without your powers, prove to me that you can defeat me without using your powers, and she's just like, I don't have to prove anything to you, and she defeats him. And it's the best. It's the best.
It's so good.
It's the absolute best. Don't speak.
It's so good. Yeah.
Go on. What do you think of Captain Marvel, Alex?
Well, we talked about it a few weeks ago. I loved it. It's so good. Brie Larson is the best. It's a really incredible Marvel film. It's action. She's great as being someone out of space. You know, she's just beautiful. It's just beautiful film. I loved it. And I love when Marvel, where the Marvel Cinematic Universe goes backwards.
Yeah.
Like, I really like that, and I think it's really good because you want to know what happened before this, and I think this was spot on, and that's why I got it.
Yeah,
So
and Ben
good.
Mendelsohn as the kind of lead Skrull character is amazing.
Yeah,
really wonderful. The twist to do with the Skrull and whether they are evil or not is genuinely wonderful and brilliant, because it plays on the comics. It kind of subverts your expectations based on what happens in the comic books. That's really cool. And yeah, no, it's good. It's good. Brie Larson.
For those men children that say that she's a Susie?
A Susie May. No, a Mary Sue.
A Mary Sue. I just found some trivia. Brie Larson trained for 4 hours a day over 9 months, learning judo, boxing, and wrestling. She also visited Nellis Air Force Base and met with active duty airmen, including blah, 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 blah. So she's too strong. 4 hours a day. I want to see you, man, children, train 4 hours a day for 9 months, learning all these skills.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. Baby man.
Goodness gracious.
Go back to your cot, baby man.
Yeah, go back to your little pit. Go and sit down in your chair and, shut up.
Yeah.
I just imagine these guys just go like in front of a computer in a dark room, just going, meh, looking like.
That's exactly what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wilson,
okay.
you are incredible. You're not whatever they call you.
No, she's
woman
not.
is.
She's not OP. She's just the best. She's exactly where she needs to be.
The best.
So yeah, that's cool. That was my number 3. What's your number 3?
My number 3 is a film we've talked about before, and is I didn't want to put it in because I already talked about it before. It's part of my top 5 in another category, but I just love this one. So I thought, well, why should I go against my love? And my number 3 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1.
Oh, is it really?
Dun, 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 dun. But yeah, so Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, I've talked about it before. Peter Quill steals a mysterious orb on a planet, outer space, and now is the target of a manhunt led by the villain known as Ronan the Accuser.
Yeah. Who's in Captain Marvel, right?
Yeah.
Which is cool. A cool little moment.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. To help him, he assembles a team of unknown some heroes, which include Zoe Saldana, who is Thanos' daughter, Gamora. Dave Bautista as Drax, which I don't know. For a while, he was one of my favorite characters, the second-hand characters, but not second-hand, but not main characters.
Yeah, like second tier sort of characters.
Second tier characters. Yeah. I really, really like him. Vin Diesel as Groot, which I love, and Bradley Cooper as Rocket, who is not a raccoon.
Okay.
There's also Karen Gillan.
Yeah, Karen Gillan plays Nebula, although her role is bigger in the second one, isn't it?
Yes. But yeah, like I said before, I like this film. Good pace, good fun, good music. I really enjoy this film, and I love Chris Pratt in it. I love everybody. I think it's good, and I've enjoyed seeing the Guardians of the Galaxy in Infinity War and Endgame. So it's been really good to see them again in a different context.
Yes, they definitely enrich the universe.
Yeah, and I like them. They've been a good enrichment of universe.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
I think they're the first ones that are totally. No. Because Thor is kind of is kind of not from Earth.
Thor's from Asgard.
Yeah, but are they not the kind of? Is it not
Bring
the
me
first
more mead.
film that they're kind of out of Earth most of the time?
It's the first cosmic Marvel movie because Asgard's a different deal to space in the way that so it's the first sort of. It was definitely a big risk for. It was one of Marvel's risks was doing Guardians of the Galaxy and it paid off.
Because I really enjoyed the fact that they were totally outside of Earth, and it was just I think it was not that it got stale, but I think it was a good time to introduce them, and that's why I think I really loved it, because I remember just going, this is so good and fresh and fun, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
So that's why I think I really enjoy it, and I know I've talked about it before.
Yeah, no, that's
I have no regrets.
I love Guardians of the Galaxy. The only reason it's not in my top 5 is I generally just prefer the solo hero movies to any of the team up films or films featuring teams, if you see what I mean.
Such a loner.
Yeah, I'm a loner. I'm a real loner. But yeah, no, I really like Guardians of the Galaxy. I definitely like it. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is good, but it didn't hit me in the way that Volume 1 did. I mean, by the end of Volume 2, I was just sort of like, this has been a film. I'm ready for it to not watch it anymore. Whereas Volume 1, I felt a bit like, I want more of that now. Volume 1 is just so original and different and interesting, and the characters are wonderful. And especially I think for me the highlight is Dave Bautista as Drax the Destroyer.
Dave Bautista is
He's wonderful.
Amazing. Then then I my love, the same love that I have for Dave Bautista arrived at a Thor Ragnarok with Taika Waititi when he's playing
Korg,
the Rockman.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Korg.
Yeah, I feel the same love.
I can understand that. Yeah.
Big, silly, simple beings. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy will always be slightly tainted for me, but from the experience of going to see it in the cinema in Japan with you. Do you remember that experience?
Did we go? What?
We went to the cinema in Aeon, the top floor of the Aeon shopping mall.
Who did we go with?
We got because it was a big deal. Me and Dan got as many people together as part. Dan from the Top 5 Video Games episode, people for Bucket Heads. And we got as many people as possible to come with us. There was 12 of us, I think. And we were late, and there was a queue, and the film was basically starting. And I was trying to buy the tickets, and the lady at the counter was like, okay, would you like to sit here? Or would you like to sit here? Do you remember that?
Slow.
It's the slowest person ever. And I was just like, anywhere that there's a seat that I can sit in, anywhere, it's fine. And she's like, okay, well, what about here? And I was like, yes, that's fine. Or here, no, anywhere. And I was almost in tears by the time we got into the cinema.
Japanese helpful hospitality was not wanted at that moment. Just put me somewhere in the toilet.
Please,
I don't care.
Please, I need. And in the end, we missed less than a minute probably of the film, but that was frustrating experience. Yeah. Anyway, that was your number 3. So on to my number 2. My number 2 is Captain America: Winter Soldier. Are you okay?
Oh, that's the one I took off my list.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because I was it was so hard. That film, oh my God, I agree 100%. Sorry.
We saw it together, didn't we, in the cinema?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great time.
Is that why I love it so much? Do you think it's because I just thought, I have to, and then I had to take it off. So sad.
Captain America: The Winter Soldier is the second Captain America movie. It's the first Captain America movie featuring Chris Evans, Steve Rogers living in the present day and dealing with present day life, and the re-emergence of his old friend Bucky. As the Winter
Bucky.
Soldier, played by Sebastian Stan. It is also the first MCU movie directed by the Russo brothers, who went on to do Civil War, Avengers Endgame, and Avengers Infinity War, and have sort of ended up kind of writing the Bible of the late stages of the initial MCU. And this is where they kind of started, and you can see why they were kept around, because the film is just so tight and so well scripted, so well plotted. The action is probably the best they have filmed action in any of these movies. It's a proper action movie, and it's also feels like it's sort of, they talked about this a lot when it was coming out, that it was kind of based around 70s political thriller type films. And they even got Robert Redford in to play the head of S.H.I.E.L.D., and they do all this stuff with Hydra infiltrating S.H.I.E.L.D., and S.H.I.E.L.D. ends up kind of imploding by the end. It is a seismic shift in the MCU. It kind of is the first time that they said maybe the good guys can't be trusted, and maybe this is more complicated than we think. And it just sort of changed things and made things a little bit more, not adult, they're not adult movies or anything, but just a bit more complex and interesting. It made Captain America a very morally clear character, answer ambiguous, difficult questions, and it features Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow in a major role, and basically until we get the Black Widow movie, this is probably as close as we have, and it's she's wonderful in it. I just love this film. I really do love Captain America: Winter Soldier. I think it's a genuinely, beyond MCU, beyond any of that, it is just a genuinely great time. I feel like anyone who isn't a fan of the MCU could sit down and watch Captain America: Winter Soldier and maybe with a little bit of foreknowledge have a great time with it, because it's just great. The Bond style opening action sequence when they infiltrate the boat is great. I remember sat in the cinema watching it, and he's flinging his shield at people and it's bouncing back, and he has that fight with not Crossbones, I can't remember his name now. He has this fight with a sort of kickboxer. It's just great. It's just brilliant. And in the way that you say Iron Man was your favourite MCU character, Captain America off the back of this movie is my favourite MCU character. I think Chris Evans' performance as Steve Rogers is the best performance for me in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I adore him, and so Captain America: Winter Soldier. It's a delight.
I really enjoyed that film, and because I didn't really the first Captain America was good, but this one made Captain America made Captain America like a good character.
Really like the first, it seemed like the criticisms people might have had of the first film of being like Captain America's too basic and not interesting and all those things. Like they kind of, it's almost like they read that criticism and then intentionally created a narrative that would challenge those expectations, and they did it well. It's brilliant.
So it's such a good film. And you're right, I agree with everything you said. It's beautiful, and it was on my list, and but it's not anymore. But you talked about it, which is good.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my number 2.
Yeah.
What's your number 2?
My number 2 is Captain Marvel.
Oh, but we've talked about Captain Marvel.
Yeah, so what's your number 1?
Oh, my number 1 is a film we've already discussed at length on the podcast, but I can't not have it at number 1 because it's my favourite. It is Taika Waititi's Thor Ragnarok.
Oh,
what's wrong?
Yes. Like your top 2 are the ones that I Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, Thor Ragnarok is the movie that legitimized the character of Thor and made him as good as the other character. Like, Thor 1 is a fine movie and I enjoy it, and Chris Hemsworth is good, but it's not a masterpiece. Thor: The Dark World is the worst MCU movie, and I can't see them making a worse one, to be honest. I really dislike Thor: The Dark World. I think they wasted an opportunity with the character in that one. But Thor Ragnarok, they brought the right person on board to fix that character and right that ship. Taika Waititi is one of the greatest living directors, and he, in a way that seems impossible because so many directors have bounced off the Marvel universe and been unable to leave an imprint on it. But for some reason, they allowed Taika Waititi to do his thing. Like, for example, in a way that they just wouldn't with Edgar Wright and Ant-Man. Like, Edgar Wright ended up having to leave that project, and we'll never know what Edgar Wright's Ant-Man would have looked like. But Taika Waititi was able to blend his style with what Marvel wanted from a director in a way that is masterful. And it's just, I mean, we've talked about it before, but I just love it. I think Chris Hemsworth's performance as Thor finds new depths and new heights and is wonderful from the moment the movie opens with him hanging upside down in front of Sator and spinning and the joke around, he spins in the wrong direction and has to wait to come back round and all of that. Like, just from the start, I was like, this is a new Thor, a different Thor.
Yeah.
And Chris Hemsworth completely rises to the challenge of portraying a new version of the character. Mark Ruffalo as well has never been better as Bruce Banner
so good
in that one. Tessa Thompson, of course, we've talked about in recent episodes how much I love Tessa Thompson and her Valkyrie. And then like all those characters as they go on and appear in Endgame and Infinity War kind of are better because of this film.
You're so right.
And it's the first Thor movie that doesn't get bogged down in the relationship between Thor and Loki, which just I mean, Loki's in it, but he's not the focus as he has been in others. And personally, he's never been my favourite element of the Marvel universe. So I'm happy for Loki
No.
to take a bit more of a backseat in this one and let
Yeah.
Thor kind of lead it. And I love it. I adore it. Taika
Yeah.
Waititi is back to make Thor: Love and Thunder, and I'm fully expecting that to be wonderful. Natalie Portman's taking the hammer in that one, and I just can't wait. I cannot wait.
Natalie Portman is coming back.
Natalie Portman is playing Thor in Thor: Love and Thunder.
Excuse me?
Natalie Portman is in Thor: Love and Thunder. Thor is going to be Natalie Portman. It happens in the comics. Her character becomes Thor.
How exciting is that?
I know, it's amazingly exciting.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. So,
Cool.
yeah, I love it. Right, that's my number one. Your number two was Captain Marvel. So what's your number one?
My number one is a film I watched last night. And you probably can guess by watching last night because I sent you a message with like one of the best scenes from the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
And the film is called Endgame.
Avengers Endgame.
Like Avengers Endgame.
So, tell me about your
I
experience.
thought my experience, like I went in and was like, oh goodness, 3 hours of film because Infinity War, like I said, was infinite.
Yeah. And Infinity War's a good
Endgame.
film.
Infinity War was an amazing film, but it's just really long. I could have had 2. Endgame just went, it was finished.
Yep.
And it truly broke me. It truly broke me, Endgame. Because I thought it was so well done. Because, I was going to, before last night, it was between Thor, Ragnarok, and Captain America Civil War. Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Civil War. Winter Soldier. But I had to take them off to like put Endgame.
Okay.
And
wow.
Okay, so Endgame is basically this. It just blew me away. It was so good. It was so well done. It could have been a total flop.
I mean, everything like it shouldn't have. It shouldn't have worked. It has too many characters. It's too long.
Yeah.
It's trying to wrap up 20 separate films into one satisfying narrative. It shouldn't work. It should be a bad film.
It shouldn't work. And I can't believe they managed it. I don't know how. Like pure genius. And and it just I didn't think I was going to enjoy it so much, and I didn't think it was going to upset me so much. And like what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next?
Peter Parker's going to go to
Europe. I'm not
Europe.
ready for it. Hey?
Peter Parker's going to
but I'm not ready for it.
Peter Parker's
I'm not
going to
ready
Europe.
for it.
That's what happens next.
I'm not ready for it. So basically, Endgame is the continuation of Infinity War. So Thanos has basically decimated humanity. And I appreciated watching Ant-Man and Wasp because when Paul Rudd comes out of that van, I was like, yes!
Yes, exactly.
Yes!
Like Ant-Man and the Wasp becomes essential once you see the start of Endgame. Yeah.
And so I was like, I love Ant-Man and Wasp now. Because when he comes out, I see the van. It's like, where's that van from? And I thought about Guardians of the Galaxy because it was kind of like a 70s van. And then he comes out. I was like, yes.
Yeah.
And so what they have to do is they have to find the Infinity Stones, the ones that remained, which are Captain America, Black Widow, Bruce Banner.
Bruce Banner.
Bruce Banner?
Yeah.
Bruce Banner.
Smart Hulk.
And
Smart Hulk.
the Smart Hulk, which I love him. Love the Smart Hulk.
Yeah.
He's so cool. And some others are stayed. And what they have to do is they have to try and go back in time to get the Infinity Stones to try and bring people back.
Yeah. Which is genius because they can make it a proper victory lap of the MCU up to this point.
Yes. But the twist, the downfall is not going to be a Superman going around the world, bringing back time, bringing back people. It's going to be some people are not going to come back.
Yeah.
Because that's not how time works.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I want Superman to go around the world and bring time back, and nothing happens.
Nope.
And what I love, they quote films that use time travel, like Back to the Future and Quantum Leap. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
There's some funny bits. Thor is a broken man, which I love. The fact that he's
Thor is
broken and an
essentially the
alcoholic.
dude, isn't he?
Yes. And there's a lot of banter, and it just felt good to watch, but also extremely sad because some people, are we gonna see them again? No.
Not
Some people we're not
No.
gonna. Some superhero.
not the
We're not gonna
funeral.
see
Not the
again.
person we see the funeral for.
Everybody was at that funeral, like everybody.
Even the boy from Iron Man 3 is in that funeral scene.
Oh, it broke me. George, it broke me. Oh, I was so upset. And then I don't know. I thought it was amazing, and they made it work. And then there's the best scene in the Marvel universe where Captain Marvel goes to Peter Parker, and he goes, "Hi, I'm Peter Parker," and Captain Marvel goes, "Hi, Peter Parker." Like, she's the coolest ever.
Yeah.
And then Peter Parker goes, "How are you going to defeat this?" And Captain Marvel turn around, and Okoye from Black Panther comes down. Don't worry, she's not alone, or she's got help. And then all the women from the super women from the Marvel Cinematic Universe come down, and she's like, "Yes, mate, yes."
With one notable
beautiful.
exception.
With one notable exception, which I don't know if I should say. It's a spoiler, isn't it?
Well, we did say we were going spoilery.
Spoilery. Black Widow is not there, and I have fallen in love with Scarlett Johansson in this Endgame. I thought she was brilliant in it.
Yep, she is.
I thought she was incredible.
It is.
And
I mean, I'm so excited to see her final performance as Black Widow in the Black Widow movie.
Yeah. Yeah, me
because she's
too.
the best.
Yeah. Chadwick Boseman was in it.
Yeah.
Broke my heart. Like that. I don't know if it's number one because I was on a roller coaster of emotions.
Well, Black Panther is the movie I took off my top 5 because I really thought that it was going to be in your top 5.
No, can you imagine? We need a top 10 Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how the Marvel Universe got better and better and better, hasn't it?
Yeah, completely. Like, I think the oldest film on my list is Winter Soldier, and then Captain Marvel's a pretty recent one. Spider-Man: Far From Home is the most recent one.
Yeah,
I do think that they keep improving, but also, as criticism people make as well is that they kind of it's the same every time. Like, there's not much variation in the movies, which to a degree I can see, but I feel like they're kind of iterating on a formula that works and just perfecting it and making it better with each time and trying new things. Thor Ragnarok is different. Captain Marvel, there's a soundtrack there. They are all superhero movies and they all fit within the same world, but it doesn't mean that they're repeating themselves. And like, for example, coming up, we've got Black Widow is going to be some sort of spy movie. The Eternals is who even knows what the Eternals is going to be. We've got I think it's Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Seven Rings. Again, who knows what that's going to be, or Legend of the Ten Rings, or something. I can't remember exactly what it's called. Anyway, it keeps getting better, and I can't wait to see what happens next. So
cool.
My top 5 was number 5, Doctor Strange. Number 4, Spider-Man: Far From Home. Number 3, Captain Marvel. Number 2, Captain America: Winter Soldier, and number 1, Thor Ragnarok.
Great. My top 5 was number 5, Ant-Man. Number 4, Iron Man, the first one. Number 3, Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 1. Number 2, Captain Marvel. And number 1, Avengers Endgame.
Nice. Now, before we move on to the next segment, before we move on from the MCU, just as a quick look to the future, because we've just come from 2020, which is the first year in like a decade with no new Marvel properties being released. And we all know why. I just think it's interesting to look ahead and think that soon we will all get to see the Black Widow movie, to which trailers have been out there for like over a year, I think, at this point, and I cannot wait. But also, the first Disney Plus TV series in the Marvel Universe are hitting soon, including, I believe by the time this episode is released, the first episode of WandaVision should be out. Are you aware of WandaVision, Alex? Are you excited about WandaVision?
I didn't know the existence of it.
So WandaVision is a Marvel series that's going to be on Disney Plus, starring Paul Bettany's Vision and Elizabeth Olsen's Scarlet Witch.
No.
Yes, and the trailers are bonkers. They've kind of based it on sitcoms from across all of American TV history. So there's scenes of them in like a black and white 50s sitcom and a 90s sitcom and stuff, and it's impossible to really know what's going on. And obviously based on the events of of Infinity War and stuff, who knows how Vision is there, but he is. And I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see what it is. I think Elizabeth Olsen's Scarlet Witch is a great character as well. I'm interested. There's a lot of rumours about House of M and various other things that it might be leading up to, and it might be kind of kicking off the next phase and what the focus is going to be after the Infinity Stones are done with. So that's really cool. There's also going to be at some point next year the Captain America and Winter Falcon. The Falcon. I think it's called the Winter Soldier and Falcon or something. TV show. It's basically
The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Is what did you say?
The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, starring Anthony Mackie's Falcon and Sebastian Stan's Winter Soldier. Anthony Mackie now taking on the mantle of Captain America off Steve Rogers. I know. But
are we not going to see him again?
I don't think so.
Like, literally, that film broke me last night.
I know. But
did you watch at the cinema?
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I watched it at the cinema.
Crazy.
I would have bawled.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. It was pretty wild. And everyone applauded at the end and stuff. It was pretty intense. And also, we've got the Eternals movie coming out. But what I'm really excited about, because they've just put some news about this out, is there's also going to be on Disney Plus a Hawkeye TV series.
Yes.
Now,
yeah, well, I'm looking through Wikipedia now, and there is WandaVision, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, What If, Miss Marvel, Hawkeye, Moon Knight, She-Hulk, all on Disney Plus.
Yes, all of those. But I want to talk about Hawkeye for a moment. Hawkeye.
Okay.
I don't like Hawkeye. I don't like Jeremy Renner as a person or as the character of Clint Barton. But Alex, the Hawkeye TV show is going to star Hailey Steinfeld as a new Hawkeye and feature Florence Pugh.
No.
Yes.
No.
Hopefully signalling her taking on the mantle of Black Widow from Scarlett Johansson. And if anyone is fit to take over Black Widow from Scarlett Johansson, it is Florence Pugh, one of our favourite actors. And I cannot wait to see that show. Oh my God. Look at that.
Very exciting times.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, the She-Hulk show should be good as well. And my personal favourite Marvel character has yet to appear in the MCU, and that is Miss Marvel. And she is getting a show on Disney Plus, and I'm like insanely excited about that because Miss Marvel is basically an Avengers fangirl who becomes a superhero. And that's such a cool, like the comic books, the Miss Marvel comics are great. She's also like the first Muslim superhero. She's great. She's cool and wonderful, and I love her. And I can't wait for Miss Marvel. So there we go. That's our MCU talk. Homework is going to be slightly different this week because we can't really set each other homework based on our top fives. Although you haven't seen Spider-Man Far From Home, but we're...
Could we do honorable mentions first?
Oh yeah, sorry, honourable mentions. I have 3 honourable mentions, and they are Ant-Man, which we've talked about.
Yeah.
Avengers Endgame, which we've talked about. It's just not on my list because similar to Buffy, like if I ever talk about my favourite Buffy episodes, the season finales are never my favourite things in TV shows. I always prefer like the one-off episodes to the season finales. I prefer the things that sort of stand alone a bit and aren't connected to... aren't summing up a broader plot, if you see what I mean. And Avengers Endgame is kind of the season finale of season 1 of the MCU, if you see what I mean. So for me, it doesn't go on my list just because of that, but I do think it's a fitting finale, and I love it. And Black Panther, which was going to be on my list, but I just, in the end, Doctor Strange took it. But I adore Black Panther, and we've talked at length about Chadwick Boseman, how amazing he is, and how difficult it will be to kind of continue that series. But I think they are going to try. So yeah, what about you?
Got 3. 2 of them which are Captain America: Winter Soldier,
Cool.
and 3: Thor: Ragnarok and Black Panther.
Cool. Solid, honourable mentions, all of them. So yeah, some amazing movies there that we love. And if you've listened to this episode and you're not a fan of the MCU, thank you for doing that. And hopefully you might have found some starting points. Particularly, I'd say Captain America: Winter Soldier. I really do feel like that's a movie that stands alone as just a good, enjoyable action film. And Guardians of the Galaxy, from your list, Alex, again, you don't need to know much about the MCU to get into that. And if you're a fan of Star Wars or sci-fi in any way, then you'll find something to enjoy there. So yeah, okay. Should we get into homework?
Yes, please.
Cool.
What shall I absorb this week for you, Mr. Ajit?
So it's slightly different this week because we've both kind of seen all of the MCU films. Hopefully you catch up on the Spider-Man movies at some point, but that's not your homework. Your homework this week is we're doing for the first time ever, we're doing free homework where each of us just get a choice to assign the other one something that we want them to watch. And I would like you to watch the 2019 Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe starring film The Lighthouse.
Yes. Okay. Yes. At the moment in Italy, it's very dark and foggy.
The Lighthouse isn't really a horror film, so please don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. I would like you to watch the film with Nicolas Cage and Cher called Moonstruck.
Okay. Yeah. No. That's fair. I've said I would watch that a long time ago and I didn't, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Moonstruck.
That's the first thing that came to my mind. I was going to be like cruel and say, watch both series of Fleabag or, finish watching Hilda. But
Anyway, so now we'll go into recommendations. So from our culture catch up this week, I would like to recommend, if there's one thing you watch I think that you should check out, and this isn't you, Alex, this means the audience, people out there listening.
Yeah.
Folklore, the Long Pond Studio Sessions, the Taylor Swift film on Disney Plus, is an absolute delight, and you should check it out. What about you?
Cool. A recommendation for this week would be The Anxiety by Willow Smith and Tyler Cole.
Cool. Okay, nice. All right, thank you so much for being with us. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure. You've been wonderful listeners. Keep going.
Yes, please.
Yes, and
join us. Send us top 5s of anything.
Yes. Send us in top 5s.
We can read them out.
Happily read them out. Next week we will be counting down our top 5 musicals.
Yes.
Yeah, top 5 musicals. Can be, I guess, any musical, film, stage, anything, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but if it's a musical, it's in play.
Yeah, a musical. Broadway, London. Film?
Yeah.
It's going to be the next time we talk about Hamilton, isn't it, George?
I don't know. We'll have to find out. We'll have to wait and see. I'm excited. I love a good musical, so it'll be interesting to see what we each put on our lists.
Definitely.
Yeah. Cool. So,
cool.
Thanks. See you then. Love you so much.
Bye.